Been watching ball with my big old brain and think the tape needs some explaining. Studying the stats to understand it. Hey, yo.
Talk data to me. Talk data to me.
Welcome to episode 8 of Talk Data to Me. And we're going to truly talk data today, guys. Like, I have one of the best data experts in the fantasy industry and a fast riser at that. Mr. Ryan Heath from Fantasy Points, one of my absolute favorite follows on Twitter. Very, very sharp guy. Ryan, welcome to Talk Data to Me.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on, Dwayne. Yeah, I've been very excited to finally get on a show with you. It should be a lot of fun. Excited to get into the data, get really nerdy, do what we both love.
Yeah, I love getting nerdy. Last week I had Matt Waldman on, and so we talked about the rookie running backs, and we talked from the film angle. Today, guys, we're really going to be attacking the rookies again because a lot of the things we saw from week 1 that had people in a complete panic held in week 2. And so now people are in an even bigger panic. So Ryan is here to help walk you through it. He's going to handhold with you. He's going to talk to you about what you should be doing with your rookies. Should you be holding? Should you be selling? Should you be buying? We'll talk about macro trends, but we will get into those actionable takes around each one of these players as well. But before I do that, Ryan, I always have to pretty much, I don't want to say embarrass. I would never try to embarrass anyone. But we have a partnership with Perplexity AI. And so I ask Perplexity before each guest comes on, like, whatever they do, my guess is whatever they're known for, I ask, like, are they good at it? And I said, is Ryan Heath a good fantasy football analyst? And the robots like you, Ryan. So if Terminator comes tomorrow, I think you're in good shape. Ryan Heath is widely regarded as a strong fantasy football analyst known for his evidence-based approach and actionable football data. He's the lead writer for Fantasy Points, where he is recognized for such work as Anatomy of a League Winner. Guys, if you have not read it, even if you're already in, obviously a league that started, it's still worth the read. It is an absolute banger of an article. Really loved it. And for developing, this makes you near and dear to my heart, his own advanced metrics, like first downs per route run. Like this is, like whenever I came up with utilization, like and some of the stuff that's in there with, long down and distance and 2-minute offense, like, and when people start using it, it's like, it's one of the coolest things ever, man. Like people start using something, you're like, oh my God, like, I came up with that and now people are using it. So it's dude, and you've done it so quickly. So again, just want to give you, a quick like hat tip here. Like you've done a lot in a short period of time, but man, I think the big thing, man, is you're a data driven person. And what I really do love about you is I can tell it in your work. I can tell it when I read it. I can tell it when I hear you talk. I can tell it whenever I see you on Twitter. You really do follow the data. And like that is a man after my own heart, because I think that's what we need to be doing. We need to let that data really drive our process and the way we're thinking about these things. And you are absolutely one of the best at it. So now that I have really embarrassed you, I'm just going to go ahead and throw you a zinger of a question. I do this with every single guest just to get things kicked off. And we are talking about the rookies today. So if you could trade for one rookie right now, Ryan, in a redraft league, who would it be and why?
Yeah, so I think I'm cheating a little bit with this answer because I'm taking advantage of how you pose the question. So if I can just pick any rookie to trade for, like ignoring the practicalities of like how difficult this actually is to trade for a player like this, it would be Tuten. And I say this because generally in my leagues, it's kind of hard to hit up any manager and be like, hey, I want this guy on your bench that you probably already think is really good because he's sitting on your bench.
And they read your stuff.
Yeah. And also they all read my stuff. And they assume if I'm interested in a guy, then they should also be interested. But
one of the worst existences, just so you guys know, is playing in leagues with your friends that all read your stuff. And even if they don't agree with you, they will still use it and hold it over your head. They're not going to trade you the guy that you want. And if they know you like them, oh my God, they want to make you pay such a premium that it's not even worth it anymore, Ryan. Sorry to interrupt you, but like I live the life.
No, it's so true. Like I feel like every dynasty league I'm in where it's people that are pretty plugged into like my content, Jacob Sanderson Dynasty Points, I end up in these like very weird running back heavy builds that I would never normally do just because the whole league is saying, hey, this is what you have to do with how they're valuing every player. But yeah, back to Tuten. I don't know what you could want more from what we've seen through 2 weeks. So week 1, the Jaguars do something very odd and carry 4 running backs onto their active roster into game day. After week 1, they immediately trade his most direct competition for snaps. In week 2, he immediately just takes on the 1/3 carry share that the two of them had been splitting before, him and Tank Bigsby. And in week 2, we see Tuten get 2 screen targets. He houses one of them. He looks awesome on all of them. This is the Liam Cohen offense where he had 3 different players ranking top 12 in screen targets last year. It was a big part of the fantasy production of Bucky Irving, Chris Godwin, all of these guys. And not for nothing, all of the kind of weird drama between Brian Thomas Jr. and Trevor Lawrence and all the criticism aside, the Jaguars offense is going to be good this year. They are 8th in yards per play right now. Cohen is still doing all of the during snap motion stuff that we kind of fell in love with him in Tampa Bay for. I think people are weirdly down on this offense. People are weirdly down on the day 3 rookie not immediately just overtaking the established veteran. We saw the snap shares and carry shares slightly shift away from ETN ever so slightly after week 1, but it's a long season. Plenty can happen. Tuten looks like a very explosive and amazing player. And yeah, if I could just at market where he's valued like on Fantasy Calc, trade away any other bench player essentially for him, I would do it. There is pretty much no other running back stash bench guy I would rather have in fantasy right now.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And it's just the combination of the things that you talked about. And I was kind of showing the utilization in the background as you were talking. But it's the combination of everything that comes together. And one of them being the price. He's still one of the guys that is still a more lowly price. We're going to go through some of these other players here in a little bit. And while on the surface, it may feel like the market is panicking, like some of these guys really aren't dropping that much in value yet, right? Whereas Tuten's value didn't start off super high. It's actually kind of rising, but it's still at a price where you can go get him. And then all the other things you talked about, like right now, I've got the utilization team styles report up. You guys can see shift motion. This isn't in motion at the play. We're working on putting that in here too, but you can see 67% for the Jaguars. That's what Ryan was just talking about. You look at play action, we're sitting here at 26%, so they're right there in that 11-12 range. Those are both cheat codes for offenses all around the board. You look at drop back rate over expected. They're slightly above the NFL average at 2%. So I'm with you. I think this offense is going to iron out the wrinkles. They're going to get going. Obviously, we need Trevor Lawrence to do his thing, but I really think, the big thing on, what you were hitting there, Ryan, is if we look at the Jaguars and what they did with their backfield in week 2. And so right now I've got it on the whole season. You can see Tuten was at, actually I can just take it down to week 1. And you guys can see here, Ryan was saying, had 4 guys active, 11% of the rushing attempts, 6% of the snaps. They move on from Tank Bigsby and look at how much the role changes here in week 2 for Bajal Tuten. 31% of the rushing attempts, 25% of the snaps. And when he's out there, man, getting those targets, 33% targets per route run, and gave you 15.4 fantasy points. So also had Matt Waldman on the show last week, guys. If you didn't check that episode out, go back and look at it. Tuten was one of the guys he was the most excited about. He thinks that he will challenge Travis Etienne specifically for a lot of the zone work, that Travis Etienne is more of a gap player and that Tuten gives them so much more flexibility in that zone running scheme. So love it, man. Absolutely great. And I think, really this just leads us perfectly into this bigger question, and we'll dive back into some more players, but it really just comes down to should people be panicking on the rookies right now? Look, we've got Ashton Jeanty 2 weeks in a row underperforming based on where people took him in drafts. Omarion Hampton, I know a guy that you and I were both, pounding the table for telling people to draft this guy in round 3 or 4 of your fantasy draft, depending on where you were playing. We got TreVeyon Henderson. We've got Quishon Judkins. We've got, there's just, you can just go straight down the board of all these guys. Now, Quishon is actually moving up a little bit, but it's just one of these scenarios where it's kind of mass panic almost across all of them. What would you say to people and how they should actually be handling the situation with the rookie running backs?
Yeah, you need to relax. That's the biggest thing is take a deep breath. It is going to be okay. We do this song and dance every single September where at the start of the season, rookies have the least trust from their coaching staffs. They are the least integrated into the offenses. And frankly, they're the least experienced, and they're the most mistake prone, right? I mean, the TreVeyon Henderson holding penalties are blowing up all over social media. Omarion Hampton not having the lateral agility he needs on the goal line carries. Like, it's super easy to pick apart like the little mistakes that all of these guys make early in the season. But guess what? Rookies get better. They adjust to the speed of the NFL. And we see that through the years in all of the data, just in terms of their opportunity shares grow over the season. The whole point of drafting rookies in fantasy football is not because you expect them to give you an advantage in September. It's because generally they are drafted below where they are likely to be scoring in November, in December, in the fantasy playoffs. So that doesn't mean we can't critically look at how all of them are playing now and decide which ones maybe that we want to buy, which ones we want to sell, all of that. But the thesis is never that a rookie is immediately going to hit and be incredibly awesome and peak in September. That's all the veterans that are not currently banged up that are at their freshest. Of course, every September, it feels like the sky is falling on rookies. And yeah, I mean, this year in particular, I think because of expectations from this awesome rookie running back class, but that is only another point that we're very, very convicted that a lot of these players were very, very good just a month ago. So maybe we should remember that full offseason of analysis of how strong this rookie running back class was, which was disputed by really almost nobody in either like the fantasy like scape or the real NFL scape. Like I'm pretty comfortable kind of standing on that prior, at least for now.
Yeah. And so, guys, what I've pulled up here, I've done some research like this in the past, but I thought I would go ahead and refresh it. And what you're looking at is performance for rookies over the first 2 weeks of the season versus rest of the season from 2015 to 2024. So looking at the last 10 years, originally I had it with 20 years. I'm like, things change. Let's just look at the last 10 years. And when you look at these running backs, you'll see, number one, what round they were drafted in the NFL. That's the column over here. If you guys are following along on YouTube, if you're listening, just know I'm breaking this down by NFL round. I've got each position. We're going to focus on the running back here. So in weeks 1 to 2, going back the last 10 years, we saw rookie round 1 running backs average 10.6 fantasy points per game. Over the rest of the season, they scored 12.6. So that's a 19% increase. What's interesting is for that subgroup, that cohort, it wasn't really about getting more opportunity. Their snaps only went from 60 to 61% in weeks 1 to 2 to rest of season. One of the things Matt Waldman mentioned last week when he was on with me, Ryan, was just there is an acclimation to the game as well. And because the way they run practices nowadays, it's not the same as what it used to be. And we've even had coaches like Kyle Shanahan tell us, they're like, we don't know what we have until we get to week 1. And we actually have live hitting and these running backs having to go at full speed. And so there's an acclimation period for these players, number one. But the thing I really want to point out to you guys is look down at these guys here, running backs that were taken in round 2. And over those first 2 weeks, 5.6 fantasy points per game, up to 9.2 over the rest of the season, a 65% increase. And that's what Ryan is talking about. And you may be looking at it going, well, 9.2 fantasy points, man. Look, guys, that's the average. There's going to be guys that are going to be over that. There's going to be guys that are going to be under that. And the main point being is what Ryan was just talking about. The data backs up. It bears it out. And this subgroup, we actually did see an increase, 25% increase in snap share moving from those first 2 games through the rest of the season. First 2 games, guys, it's a really small sample, but I did it on purpose because we're freaking out about a small sample. So fine, I'll show you a small sample and we'll show you how these players have gotten much better. And so when we think about the names like Quishon, Judkins, TreVeyon Henderson, RJ Harvey, and I can keep going down. We got down here in round 4, like Bucky Irving's going to be in this group, 42% increase. But the big takeaway here, guys, I'm not going to make you keep staring at my spreadsheet, is that what Ryan just said is true. These players do gain value as the season goes on. So anything else you want to hit on this, Ryan, before we jump into a few players? Because you wrote a lot of good stuff in the anatomy of a league winner. And so just want to give you an open floor here to hit on any other macro things with the rookies before we dive into the players.
Yeah, a couple things. I'll put like some more names and examples to this data that you're showing as well. So just through 2 weeks, here are some stats that I was very easily able to pull over the last handful of seasons for some rookie running backs and rookies in general that that made a huge difference down the stretch, right? Bucky Irving through 2 weeks last year, 5.9 fantasy points per game. Jahmyr Gibbs through 2 weeks as a rookie, 37% snap share, 10 fantasy
Massive
points
panic.
per game. Like it was. If you weren't here for the Jahmyr Gibbs week 1 and 2 panic, like you may, I guess I understand if you don't.
Everyone
feel what I'm talking
replaying the
about here.
clips of them being so excited in the draft room when they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs and being like, well, let's use him, guys.
Yeah, no, exactly. Devon Achane had played 5 snaps through the first 2 weeks. Breece Hall, very similarly to Gibbs, 36% snap share, 12 fantasy points per game. His rookie season got cut short, but it looked like a enormous breakout for a month or so before that. Najee Harris through 2 career games was at 3.2 yards per carry. And Najee Harris, the joke is, yeah, he was at 3.2 yards per carry his entire career, but also he finished as an RB1. He was a round 1-2 turn pick in dynasty leagues the offseason after his rookie year. Like this was a successful rookie season that people were very excited about eventually, right? Nick Chubb, 5 rush attempts through 2 career games. Christian McCaffrey, 2.7 yards per carry through 2 career games. Even like these superstars take time to adjust to the NFL. It's a thing. I don't know what else to say on it other than that the switch always flips and it becomes very obvious to people in hindsight. Like, oh, of course that guy was good. How did I think that he wasn't 2 weeks in? So I'm thinking about Ashton Jeanty right now, where he's averaging whatever it is, 3.1 yards per carry. That was a total guess. That it's low, whatever it is, but come on, guys. Like we can't be moved this hard off our priors from players we think are really good and are these elite draft prospects. The only other thing I want. Sorry, go for it. Yeah,
just real quick. Let's say that his efficiency did remain crappy. Like, I mean, so did Trent Richardson's in his rookie season. He was still a top 12 fantasy back. I mean, if he's going to get the volume, like he's still going to end up paying off in some way, shape, or form. I happen to think Ashton Jeanty is better than what we had with Trent Richardson. But yeah, no, keep going.
Yeah, well, you got me on to Jeanty now, so I'll say this too. The Raiders in their first 2 games have been more pass heavy than like anybody could have possibly imagined this offseason. Like I've been butting heads with a lot of people over the offseason about the Brock Bowers projection and the Raiders pass rate over expectation. It is well above where even the biggest Brock Bowers truther could have possibly imagined, right? And I think part of that is the teams they've played. They've played a Mike Vrabel defense that has always, even going back to Tennessee, funneled opposing teams to pass the ball. Vrabel never wants to be beat on the ground. It's just a Mike Vrabel thing. And the Chargers, with this awesome run defense, we have seen both them and the Chiefs not really be able to run on them. Like I would not be surprised, like, if we're looking back on this season and we're like, oh yeah, Jeanty just started the year off with 2 awful matchups, and then Geno Smith threw 3 interceptions in week 2, and Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly remembered what it is that they want to do, which is pound the rock. So yeah, that's like my Jeanty take. Relax on him. Only other thing I wanted to say kind of on this macro conversation is it is just objectively true that rookies make up an outsized share of the league-winning players that really matter, that actually win you championships. So just looking at the last 2 seasons in terms of players on the highest percentage of championship rosters, and this is data that ESPN releases, so just from their platform, but 4 of the top 10 players on championship winning rosters last year were rookies. It was Bucky Irving, Brock Bowers, Brian Thomas Jr., Malik Neighbors, 4 of the top 10. And 2 of the top 6 in 2023, Sam Laporta, Puka Nacua. Now, only 1 running back in there. We haven't had a running back class like this one in those past 2 years, especially last year. We had an awesome wide receiver class in 2024. A couple of those guys were huge league winners, even including Malik Neighbors being drafted pretty early. I would not at all be surprised if at the end of this season, we're like, oh yeah, there are multiple rookie running backs that were these huge league winners, and even one or two or maybe multiple of them were drafted relatively early, and despite that, they were still huge league winners. Like, this is just what we see in fantasy because all of these ADPs are very much tethered to season-long projections, and that is always going to disadvantage rookies where their production is backweighted toward the most important weeks of the fantasy football season, right? It's in the middle to end of the season when there's the most injuries, the most buys, when your lineup is the most starving for points, and in the fantasy playoffs is when they generally peak. But all of these veterans, if you have front-weighted production, then that's going to push up, your season-long projection for sure, but it is not as valuable as it appears at first glance if you're really, really good in September and trail off toward the end of the year. So that's like everything that I think I have on like a macro perspective.
I think
I've rambled a lot, but yeah.
No, that's not rambling. You were actually very concise, and I thought you walked through, your points really well. The one thing I would say, because I'm a rookie bull as well. I've got people coming to me right now saying I followed your draft strategy and my team sucks, because I drafted Omarion Hampton and I drafted TreVeyon Henderson. I can empathize because, guys, guess what? When I give you advice, I'm doing the same thing. My bags are so heavy with both of those players, like my back hurts. Okay. And so like I need them to obviously get things going as well. But I did talk to you in the strategy article about like how you can also handle the way you're going to draft, these sort of teams. Like maybe you do take another veteran later that you can use early in the year, but you want to make sure you've got access to these types of players. I wanted to ask one follow-up question though, based on that, because it's something I'm trying to reflect on, Ryan, and I was going to save this for the end, but it just really fits really good right here because we're in the flow before we jump into Mr. Jeanty and like his value right now. Is there, I do think there's a breaking point, right? As we start to think about how high rookies move up the board. First of all, I'm going to say overall, I don't think we're there. Overall, rookies, I still think provide value in fantasy drafts. But I do wonder, and I'll use a specific example, and this is like really narrow, and it can be like, but it's an anecdotal way to talk about it, right? I do look back at TreVeyon Henderson and how much I took. And I do think, man, James Cook was there every time that you made the TreVeyon Henderson pick. And they're really, if I looked at my full scope of where I thought TreVeyon Henderson would get to by the end of the year, honestly, it was probably a hope that he would be in a role like James Cook. Now, I think I also think he might be a better player, but look how good James Cook's playing. They've paid the guy. They're giving him more work, which I also talked about that being a potential that, hey, now they paid him. I mean, and we see this all the time. People are like, oh, small back can't get more work. Achan does it. Small back can't get more work. Bucky Irving's doing it. Small back can't get more work. James Cook's now doing it. So guys, number one, just get rid of that argument. It's stupid. If a player is really good, they're going to be able to get on the field. But I do wonder if I really pushed TreVeyon too far up. Now, home leaguers still got to take him in round 4 or 5. I was having to take him in round 3 in high stakes drafts. Now, I wasn't the only one doing it. If you didn't take him there, you weren't getting him. But I do wonder if on certain players like that, even though I feel good about TreVeyon for the long term, there is a trade-off cost to taking a TreVeyon Henderson who does come with some risk that you probably are not getting with a guy like James Cook.
No, there absolutely is. And I have like a few things to say on this. One is that I will say I did not chase TreVeyon Henderson upboards kind of throughout August, because my take the entire time was I don't know that it matters how well he plays in the preseason or how many kickoffs he houses, which was sick. But to me, him and RJ Harvey were just always fairly similar bets. So I ended up with my bags packed with RJ Harvey. Whether that ends up working out for me, we will see. I still continue to think that both of them are pretty similar bets right now, as we've seen through 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree that there theoretically is a point where a rookie could be drafted. Rookies as a group are drafted higher than they're worth it. But I don't know that we're at that point. I agree. And one reason is, it's very easy to look back and say, man, James Cook was there. But also, like, Kyron Williams was there, and I think if you're JSN was there, yeah. But
Yeah.
like, if you want to take like the opposite ideological approach of, I think actually the veterans are too undervalued, then there's a ton of veterans that have been just as disappointing, or look at least a little bit scary.
And we don't
from
hold
usage
them
perspective right now. Yeah,
they don't get the same, because rookies are the new shiny toy. They just get all the attention. I will say, though, on the flip side of the league winners that we talked about last year, I can give you an old washed veteran that matched every one of those rookies. For Malik Neighbors, it was Devontae Adams, right? For Brian Thomas Jr., it was Mike Evans. For Lad McConkey, it was freaking Keenan Allen. No one wants to talk about the fact that Keenan Allen scored like 18.8 fantasy points per game over the last 4 weeks last season during your championship run. So, and I don't bring that up to say, like, to wash away all the things we've been talking about with rookies. I do bring it up as a point that things really can be balanced, guys. Like, and you should just keep an open view about all of it. And different players can have different values, and not all veterans fall off at the end of the year. Some spikes and valleys are random. Like, and you can hit your spike as a veteran at the end of the year, just like a rookie can hit their spike. But with rookies, the reason we talk about it is because the historical trend is that we do see a gradual increase through the year and then a crescendo with a lot of them. It's not to say that the veterans couldn't also be hot. Theirs is just more, are they hitting that hot streak at the right time, right? Or is it just, it can be one or the other. And I think that's why you also see some of the data we talked about with the round one guys that we know are getting their playing time early as rookies, and not all of them like crescendoed at the end of the year. Like, their variance is just coming into play, like at different spots in the year. But these guys that are growing their role, obviously, just by getting more opportunity and getting better, like, they're going to have their better weeks at the end of the season. So really, really good stuff. So let's dive into, I'm going to pull up Fantasy Calc here. I'm going to put it over on the screen for everyone on YouTube. See if I make that a little bit bigger for everybody. But I've got Ashton Jeanty already in here. And so right now he is valued, and guys, this is a great tool, fantasycalc.com. Like, you can do all sorts of things over here. They've got a value scale that they use, and this is based off of all the data that they're gathering. I can't remember all the sites, Ryan, that they're doing, but they're gathering all the data from a ton of different sites. And essentially it's looking at all these trades that are happening, and then it's assigning value to these players based on what's getting traded for them. And you guys can see here, you've got this downward trend on Ashton Jeanty, basically since the season has started. Now, it's not terrible. He's still running back 11. And if you look at the running backs that he's valued similarly to, Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, Chase Brown, Chuba Hubbard, Kyron Williams, that's the list. If you just look at overall players he's valued similarly to, we've got Brock Bowers, Drake London, Brian Thomas, Trey McBride, plus all the rookies that I already mentioned to you. So what are your thoughts here on Jeanty for rest of the season? Because like, when I look at this list, as much as I love Jeanty, I don't know that I would scream to anyone to go try to make a trade. Like, I wouldn't trade Bucky Irving for him. Like,
yeah, agreed.
I'm sticking with Bucky Irving. But is there a takeaway that you have here, or a thought on Jeanty based on like what this data is telling us?
Yeah, I would not trade away Bucky Irving for him or Josh Jacobs at this point.
Agreed.
I would easily trade away the other three backs
I would too.
For Jeanty. Okay, so yeah, we're just exactly.
Kyron's kind of close, but there's a little maybe crack in the armor if they're going to start using someone. And Kyron's very dependent on that massive volume because he doesn't catch passes. He's got to score the touchdowns. But Chuba, in a heartbeat, I'm going Jeanty.
Yeah.
Like, and Chase Brown, like, guys, is not. And no, this is what's funny, right? No one's talking about how bad Chase Brown sucks.
I know. Yeah, I touted Chase Brown a ton this year. And yeah, I've had way more people upset about like RJ Harvey or Omarion Hampton than Chase Brown. It's like yeah.
Come on, people.
It's like a weirdly, as I was saying, yeah, we just have like a weirdly different standard for these veterans versus these rookies right off the bat. But yeah, even like a Kyron Williams to me is, if he's going to lose like every third drive or potentially be taken out on the goal line some of the time, like that completely kills the Kyron Williams appeal and role to me. Like that is like a silent really rough pick to have made to me right now through 2 weeks. So yeah, I think Jeanty probably about properly valued based on this, but yeah, would definitely
I would say kick
be
the
knocking on the
tires.
door. Yeah, 100%.
I think the beauty of this tool, if you guys go check it out, is I love to scroll down. Like if you look at this, Ashton Jeanty, someone got Ashton Jeanty for Tony Pollard and Wan'Dale Robinson. Yes, I'm getting Ashton Jeanty for that. Someone got Ashton Jeanty, and I know you guys are gonna say, well, that guy's stupid. We all have, no offense, stupid people in our leagues, or they have moments of stupidity. We won't call them stupid, but they have a brain fart. They do something silly. Ashton Jeanty went straight up for Ramondre Stevenson. Ashton Jeanty went straight up for Jameson Williams, who I actually like, but I would take Ashton Jeanty rest of the season over JMO. Would you?
Yeah, extremely easily. Yeah, JMO has 4.5 targets per game through 2 weeks. Yeah.
Ashton Jeanty straight up for Javonte Williams. I'm doing that deal. And guys, you guys can, I'm not going to name all of these, but the point being is what I do this. I'm guilty of this. I'm not the guy that sends out all the trade offers, and maybe I get too hung up on, well, I don't want to insult the other person, but I have one of my good buddies in my league does it. His name's Jason, and he does it in a respectful way. And sometimes I look at his trade offers and I'll tell him, man, this is shit, but he'll have deals go through and I'm like, oh my God, like, how did he get that player for that? Because he kept sending the offers. And so I get it, and I feel where you guys are coming from, but that's my biggest point. There's deals going down for Ashton Jeanty right now that you guys won't believe. So we're going to go to Omarion Hampton. While I'm getting him up, anything you want to say about Omarion?
Yeah, I guess to me, the Omarion Hampton thesis was initially, like before any of the Najee I stuff, was like, okay, he was at the time like a round 4 pick. That's an okay price to pay for a guy I think could win work over the season. You ended up likely drafting him in round 3 in August because we had that extra juice, the extra chance that he would just immediately establish himself with Najee missing so much of training camp. It looks like that is not the case anymore, that Hampton did not take advantage of the chance to just immediately establish himself and take the momentum of this backfield. But that doesn't mean he can't do it down the stretch now. Like that, yes, I would say like the round 3 thesis failed. This would still, even knowing what I know through 2 weeks, is a player I would have been totally fine with drafting like in round 4 of seasonal leagues from that perspective. So maybe that will help us compare some of these values a little bit, just from like just almost think of this like if we had this information in the preseason, like even more information, where would we have properly ranked him? But
imagine that in the preseason, and I've got the utilization report up here, guys, that you would have known that over the first 2 games, Omarion Hampton would have got 72% of the snaps.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been, okay, yeah, I'm taking him at the beginning of round 3. He's actually gotten the work that we hoped. Now it came down, and you guys see it on the screen here in week 2. It was at 81% of the snaps in week 1. Najee obviously ramping up from the eye injury. It drops to 62%. But guys, 62% of the snaps, like if you looked at nothing else about a running back, like when you see 62%, that's generally a really good thing. That's not bell cow level, but that's still a really good number. 100% of the carries inside the 5-yard line for the season, 83% of the long down and distance snaps, they're trusting him on pass down, 71% of the short yardage carries, which is like basically a larger sample of what it can look like inside the 5 because we get kind of limited data. Like there's only so many carries inside the 5. And so like, man, like honestly, the biggest thing that's happened, in my opinion, to Omarion Hampton, besides like obviously him trying to acclimate to the NFL game, is this. When we go to the drop back rate over expected, the Chargers are number 1 at 8%. I mean, we've got Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh out here, and they're like, look, and it's smart, to be honest. We have Justin Herbert with 3 great wide receivers, and we're just going to throw the ball. And what that's done is it's decreased the pie. So even though he's out there, they're not running the ball right now. And so I think, the truth will probably lie somewhere in the middle. I would be surprised if the Chargers ended up as the most pass-heavy offense. I did talk about it a lot in the preseason, that they were probably going to throw the ball more than like what your granddad probably would think this offense would do, knowing Harbaugh growing up. But granddad, heck, that's like me now. Ryan, I'm the granddad. I don't have grandchildren, but I'm at the age where I could. But I I think there's just a lot of factors going on here. But the other thing that I would say is this is a really good offense. So you got a player that's getting a really solid amount of playing time. That's a first round NFL draft pick. He's got a good talent profile. Playing in an offense that could score a lot of freaking points, man. There's a lot of ways Omarion Hampton goes on to smash over the rest of this year, even with Najee getting more work.
Yeah, the only thing I want to add to everything you just said is that it wasn't just week 1 where he was at an 81% snap share. It was the first 3 quarters of week 2. He was in that exact same role, 81% snap share. Not even before the fumble. It was before the 3 goal line stuffs at the end of the 3rd quarter. Then Najee comes in a game in the 4th quarter of a game that they pretty much have under control at that point to kind of grind out the clock. Hampton rotates in on I think the 2nd or 3rd drive in the 4th quarter, and then the fumble happens. So yeah, to me, the Chargers entered that game with the plan to keep Hampton in the exact same role. They brought Harris in at the end to kind of salt the clock away. The fumble's extremely unfortunate, but also very critically, Harbaugh does not seem like a coach to me that is just going to bury a young player for a mistake like that. Just think back to everything Harbaugh has ever said about Quentin Johnston after all of the drops that he had last season. He has
stuck with him.
Yes, he's stuck with him. And not only is he stuck with him, it looks like he's been rewarded for
featuring
that. This is just kind of Harbaugh's shtick. If he believes in a player and their talent, he's going to keep giving them chances. He's not just going to kick them to the curb. So I would not be surprised if we come out in week 3 and it's a literal 50-50 committee between Hampton and Najee. I also wouldn't be surprised if Hampton is back up at a 70% snap share again in week 3 and we all seemingly freaked out over nothing. So I think the thing with Najee that we don't know is, what shape he's in and how much they're using that to continue. They've obviously told us in game 1 he had a cap. So I think that's the unknown. If we knew that he was healthy and was able to already play from a conditioning standpoint a large amount of snaps and everything that we just talked about, including the great breakdown from you of the way that worked through the first 3 quarters last week, I think we would be pretty confident that it would actually just still be Omarion Hampton. I think the one wild card is we don't know how much they're limiting Najee potentially just due to getting him back into true football form after the eye injury. So Omarion Hampton, guys, over on fantasycalc.com. He's now the running back 20. He's dropped since yesterday when I sent you the show sheet, Ryan. He was running back 19. So continuing to drop down. If we look at the running backs that he's similarly valued to, I am taking him over all of these. Javonte Williams, Kenneth Walker, James Conner, TreVeyon Henderson, Jalen Warren. Yeah, agreed. Hampton is the RB 15 in our rest of season rankings over at Fantasy Points that we were going through earlier this week. Yeah, to me, when I compare him to some of these veterans, I have nothing to complain about with the Javonte Williams usage or anything.
He played really good last week.
Yeah, he played good. He is playing well. Good for Javonte. Prove me wrong. I don't think the upside is as big as an Omarion Hampton in a featured role, right? Ken Walker, this guy is at a 50% at best opportunity share. And I say this as someone that had a lot of Ken Walker coming into the season. This was not the plan, not the idea. Ken Walker's role is worse than Omarion Hampton's right now. Same with James Conner, losing all these passing down snaps to Trey Benson, being a 60-40 runner on the ground with him. None of those guys that Hampton
passing down were going to Trey last week, man.
Yeah.
100% of the 2-minute offense for Trey Benson. I did not. I knew that Trey Benson might grow his role. If you were to tell me that they were going to be as close as they are by week 3, I would have been a little bit surprised. So Trey Benson, really, really playing well. That's a good call out.
Yeah, I had been lower than consensus on Trey Benson across every fantasy format up until I saw that utilization last week, because the thought was always well, okay, if he takes over for Conner, he still
Amari DiMercado is going to get the pass down work.
Exactly. Yes, literally. If you're losing snaps to Amari DiMercado in the passing game, I'm okay, well, it's probably over for you and as a 3-down potential bell cow. But yeah, it clearly wasn't. So yeah, good for Trey Benson. He is a buy high or whatever, however you would put that.
So Kenneth this weekend, we'll see what happens with Charbonnet. if Charbonnet's dealing with a foot injury, so Kenneth Walker, obviously this weekend, we're going to, we'll be moving him up all of our ranks. You will, I will, if we don't have Charbonnet. And, I know the prayer from everyone, including me, guys, because I trapped in, it sounds like you did too. The prayer is God, just be so good that they just see they got to go back to you being the dude getting 60%, 65% of the work. And then just let's let Charbonnet play that backup role. And then if you miss a game or two, Charb's is fresh and can come in and give us a running back one performance. So, so I think this was pretty cut and clear. We would move, we would go after Omarion Hampton. We would trade any of these players away for Omarion Hampton for the rest of the season. And I didn't mention, guys, tell me what you think real quickly here. Let's go to some non-running backs, because sometimes, guys, the easier trade is, right, you're trading a different position because you're looking for a team that you've got a strength, they've got a weakness, and then that's how you're trying to identify how you're going to go after your trade. Straight up position for position can be harder at times, at least for me. People just look at me with a crooked eye of, why do you want this guy versus my guy, kind of thing. So here are the receivers. Would you trade? And let's assume you've got a decent receiver room. You can make whatever assumptions you want. I'll let you caveat it. I'm just going to throw the names out there. Omarion Hampton, here are the names. DK Metcalf.
Yes, I would. Absolutely.
Yeah, me too. Tyler Warren.
That one's rough. I would probably keep Tyler Warren, honestly.
I would too. And with the TreVeyon thing being wrong for me, I'm just clinging on to I was right about Tyler Warren, guys. I'm not out there about it, but in my brain, I have to.
I was a Colston Loveland guy, if anyone wants to dunk on me harder. And it was literally
we'll get to Colston Loveland.
Literally for the reason that I thought he could see a more immediate role than Tyler Warren. So it's
we were way
poetic
on
justice.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was definitely on Warren for the immediate role, but it's okay. We'll talk about that more later. So Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, get him off my roster, please. Give me Omarion Hampton instead.
Debo.
Debo is closer than any of these guys besides Tyler Warren, but I would still take Hampton.
Yep. Okay. I think we're good. T. Higgins, I think we're going to say yes, because now we don't have Joe Burrow, even though Jake Browning has actually been better than what people think, at least from a yardage perspective. I mean, you can tell me if you're wrong, if you're keeping T.
Yeah, no, fully agreed. T, if anybody is a huge loser from the Burrow injury, it's T. I think Chase plus Chase Brown are probably fine with how they want to run the Jake Browning offense, which is a ton of screens, a ton of easy button touches to Jamar Chase in particular. So those two guys are fine. Higgins is probably screwed.
So we're going to go to a guy here in Quishon Judkins who is actually moving up. He's the first guy that we've gotten to that is not trending down, guys, and you know why. It's because last game was his first game. Switched the utilization report over here just to show you last week, and the dude came out and got 48% of the rushing attempts. Now, snaps are at 25%. Obviously, just got off the plane and walked onto the field, guys. So, doesn't know all the playbook, probably wasn't in the best shape. It's going to be a ramp up here. I do like Quishon Judkins, and I think, and we can be wrong on these things all the time, especially with such a small sample, but if I'm trying to read the tea leaves, I really don't think you can get a better endorsement than essentially having no prep and you get half the rushing workload. So I feel like they're going to eventually load this guy up. My concern around Quishon Judkins is there are two other backs on the team, and I really do like Dylan Sampson. I'm not a huge Jerome Ford guy. I think he's fine. I think he's a capable 3-down back. So if you need somebody to be there that can do it all, Jerome Ford can do it. But my biggest concern is they're 0-2. How many more starts does Flacco even get before we're into the Dylan Gabriel experiment, Shedeur Sanders? And maybe one of those guys surprises me. I mean, I've been wrong about stuff like that before, but I'm not, historically, guys that are taking in the rounds they're taking in, if we're just making it that simple, don't come out and boom as fantasy quarterbacks, or just as NFL quarterbacks in their first year. So where are you at on Judkins? I think the utilization's bullish. I liked him as a talent, didn't love him, did like him though. But man, the offense is still a little worrisome for me.
Yeah, so to me, kind of the biggest thing here is you just look at those long down and distance snap percentages here, and it's Jerome Ford at 83%. Yeah. He is the one that is running most of the routes in this backfield.
2-minute offense as well. Yeah.
Yeah, 2-minute offense. As long as it's Joe Flacco, and honestly, probably no matter who it is, but especially Joe Flacco with how he plays and how he throws to running backs, that is going to be the most valuable stuff in the Browns offense, unfortunately, right? Especially if they are trailing every game. You need that passing down work. You need that long down and distance work. So to me, I like Judkins, and when we get to who he's valued next to, maybe I'm just going to take him over all of them. But I'm a little concerned that the actual ceiling on this offense is a bit capped in terms of putting up fantasy points. I don't know how he gets past like the mid-range RB2, even like at his peak, just in terms of raw fantasy points, goal line touches, all of that is just not going to be here on the
He would have to honestly be insane in efficiency. Like he would have to just take the league by storm kind of thing. Looked really good on his few touches last week, but it's a few touches. He could look bad on his few touches this coming week. So I'm with you, but here are the names. I mean, you do move down a tier versus the guys that we were talking about earlier. So when you look at the running backs that he's valued similarly to, we've got DeAndre Swift, who for now playing a full-time role in that Bears offense, not scoring a lot of fantasy points. It's the historical DeAndre Swift kind of a narrative that we've had to live through still going on, but not a lot of competition. I mean, we'll see with Kyle Monangai. We'll see what happens. Obviously, Roschon was dealing with an injury kind of in the doghouse or something right now, but you got Tony Pollard, who's getting plenty of work. Just the offense sucks. We got another rookie in RJ Harvey, and then we've got Mondre Stevenson and another rookie in Cam Scattaboo. Any names stick out there to you where you're like, yeah, I'm pulling the trigger with Judkins on that one? I feel like I would probably be willing to do it for Mondre. I would be willing to do it for Scattaboo. I don't think I could do it. I wouldn't be I would be fine if someone did it, but I'm not going out of my way, even though I don't love Swift or Pollard, but I feel like they're probably kind of equals to Quishon. It's like a coin flip in my head.
Yeah, so to me, because of that, I would just take Quishon over Swift. I'm so done with DeAndre Swift, dude. Like, he can get 18 expected fantasy points every single game and score 10 fantasy points, and I will never expect that to change, pretty much. So yeah,
that's where the utilization score dings DeAndre Swift, unlike expected fantasy points, which I use both. I like to look at both, but like the utilization score, like what it does two things different than expected fantasy points. Number one, it actually uses their fantasy points as basically 20%, right, of the equation, which is a proxy for talent, right? Yes. Are you getting yards? Are you getting touchdowns? Are you playing on a good offense? It's kind of all rolled up. Fantasy points per game is a proxy for all those things. But the other thing it's doing is it's looking at are you getting the snaps on long down and distance? Not just are you getting a target? Like, are you getting the snaps inside the 5-yard line? Not just the attempts inside the 5-yard line. So it's really trying to expand beyond got this carry from this yard line, got this target at this yard line, which is essentially those are the drivers got to expected fantasy points, which is really, it's great stuff. But DeAndre, the reason because people will ask, they'll always like, how come DeAndre Swift doesn't have like a really good utilization score? I'm like, because he sucks.
Yeah,
exactly. He doesn't do anything with it. He doesn't do anything with his opportunities, man. So he always trades out as like a low end running back 2 or high end running back 3.
Yeah, I will always say this about expected fantasy points too, is you can't just look at the number. You also have to say, okay, this is the number for the player, like on average, what an average player would score with all these touches. That does tell you something if over a multi-game, multi-season sample, a player is vastly over or underperforming it. Like that, you always have to keep the talent in mind and look at the snaps, all of that. While we lean on XFP a lot at Fantasy Points, like these other inputs that you have to keep in mind as well along with them, and I would never see differently. So yeah, I'm glad we got into that nerdy little sidebar on
it's fun stuff
on XFP and utilization score. But yeah,
real quickly, rapid fire on these positions that are not running backs. Would you move Quishon? Would you go after Quishon Judkins for Chris Olave?
Olave, no, but everybody else on the screen.
Travis Kelce is the other name here, guys.
Travis Kelce,
Jordan Love, and you got DJ Moore.
Yeah, Yeah, all of those guys I would much rather have Judkins.
All right.
Just because none of those guys are scoring that many fantasy points right now anyway. Like just give me the later season upside at that point.
So TreVeyon is who we're moving to now. Some might say it's the main event because Dwain did chase him up draft boards. And by the way, I do want to say, guys, it was based on his original talent profile, nothing to do with returning a kick. Unfortunately, the kick did steam him up the boards, but I like this talent profile so much that I already had him graded in a range where I would take him in round 3. I just shouldn't have taken him in front of James Cook, damn it. But anyway, we're moving forward. Like, there's nothing I can do about that now. I've got to improve. So here we go. TreVeyon Henderson is now down to running back 22. Actually, he's come up. TreVeyon was at running back 24, and you guys are trying to give me hope, I guess. He's up to running back 22 today on fantasycalc.com. Here are the running backs that are in the same range as TreVeyon, and we'll speed up a little bit here. We got about 10 minutes left, so yes or no, James Conner.
Give me TreVeyon.
Jalen Warren.
Give me TreVeyon.
Okay. Jordan Mason, David Montgomery.
I mean, Mason, if I'm like 0-2 and super need to
start him this week,
fantasy points the next 4 weeks,
like 4 games.
But yeah, season long, give me TreVeyon.
All right, let's go to non-running backs. We've got Terry McLaurin.
TreVeyon.
Yeah. George Kittle. I'm going
Give me Kittle. Yeah, Kittle.
Tucker Kraft, I'm going Kraft, assuming like everything when the knee. It sounded better. I was so scared when I first heard the knee report yesterday, the way they made it sound, and then it kind of sounded like, we're probably okay. As long as he's healthy, I'm going Tucker Kraft. He looks amazing. We already talked Jalen Warren, Jacoby Myers. I think we're going TreVeyon. And guys, when we say these things, they're in a vacuum. Obviously, you got to know your roster, and you got to know if you have, you don't have any wide receivers, right? And you're trading away Terry McLaurin for TreVeyon, and now you don't even have a wide receiver too. Like we're expecting you to already know that about your team, and so we're not going into that. All right, now TreVeyon. Any other quick thing? We can cut someone else out if we have to. Like TreVeyon is a major lightning rod, so I know we just talked about what we would do, but my thought process on TreVeyon is just the way we started the show. Think about what those running backs that went in round 2 look like and how much they massively moved up the rest of the season versus what they did in those first 2 weeks. 65%, guys. Like, it's just, this is the way it works. And so I can't tell you this is going to start in week 3. I put that tweet out yesterday and somebody's like, oh, so it looks like he's breaking out in week 3. I'm like, no.
Nope.
I didn't say that, but I'm saying like eventually, like his workload is going to increase, like, and we're going to be happy about it. And there's all sorts of ways it could happen. We don't want this, but it could be an injury to Mondre. Guys, if Ramondre Stevenson went down this week, do you know how high TreVeyon Henderson would shoot up?
Yeah. Oh my God. And it's the same with like RJ Harvey, who is with J.K. Dobbins, the most injury.
We can put these guys together actually
in the NFL. Yeah. It's the exact same conversation to me. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll pull up Harvey real quick. I'm with you. I think this is very similar. And man, I'll tell you, I went back and I've watched every play from all these guys so far this year. RJ Harvey might be the most exciting. Like just the acceleration, the burst. And I'll tell you what, Sean Payton, man, come on, dude. Do we have to do the Tyler Bidet thing? I know J.K. Dobbins is going to be the hammer. I get it. I knew it. I can plan for it. I can accept it. Come on, like we have to have Tyler Bidet out there catching all these passes. Just give those to RJ Harvey and we're fine, man. Like that. Yeah. That's a real monkey wrench.
I want to say on that really quickly too that honestly, it being Tyler Bidet that is the pass catcher and the one that's pass blocking that Harvey has to overtake. I prefer that because in the preseason we were told it's J.K. Dobbins that they trust as a pass blocker that's going to be on passing downs early in the season. To me, Tyler Bidet is easier for RJ Harvey to overtake than J.K. Dobbins in that specific role that we care about. So yeah, that like honestly is bullish to me, and I haven't really changed my opinion of Harvey from a season-long value perspective at all for the first 2 weeks.
I will just say Tyler Bidet was a really good receiver out of the backfield in college, so it is his niche, if you will. It's like a Naheem Hines kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can't really do anything else, but really good at that. But yeah, just you guys can see here on the screen, utilization report, 100% of the 2-minute offense. Actually, sorry, that was just week 2. So 78% of the 2-minute offense. And you got a little dash here for RJ Harvey. We should put like 2 dots above it and turn that into a frowny down face. So targets for RJ Harvey, that's the killer. 3% so far, 31% of the snaps, 22% of the rushing attempts. So guys, like, look, it's terrible. He has a utilization score of 31. Like, you don't ever want to see that. But at the same time, this really just comes back to the same thing we just talked about with TreVeyon Henderson. These are the guys that are going to grow their role over the course of the season. If you can get them to your bench right now, just do it. Okay. You don't need to try to, like, keep them in your starting lineup. If you've got other options, I get a lot of questions on that. We don't let pride get in the way of trying to win this week's matchup, but we want to hold on to these assets. I don't think we need to run through these players. It's the same list that we just had for TreVeyon. And if we're saying they're the same player, I think we would make the same sort of deals.
Yep. Fully agreed. Yeah. It's the same exact thing.
Okay. We're going to skip Caleb Johnson, guys, unless you have a few quick words you want to say on Caleb. Caleb's in a really rough spot, in my opinion.
If you want to panic on any rookie, it should be Caleb Johnson. I will say that. Like, oh my God, that guy is so buried. Yeah.
He's got the slow offense. You got Arthur Smith to deal with. You got Aaron Rodgers, if he doesn't trust you, is not going to put you. I mean, we got so many narrative streets that we can go down here. And honestly, it's just like he's not looked good, and now you fumble the kickoff. Like it's just it's a Lemony Snicket series of unfortunate events kind of thing going on here for Caleb Johnson. My brain came up with something. I was like, what am I going to use here?
That is a good pull. I love that. That's awesome. So I love those books as a kid. Hell yeah.
Yeah. My kids did too. That tells me like Ryan could be my son probably. Yeah. So I would take you. You're a good dude. So Bashal Tuten. We already kind of hit him at the top. We don't have to spend a lot of time here, but I do want to throw out the names. We've got Isaiah Pacheco. Hell yes. Give me Bashal Tuten.
Yes.
Zach Charbonnet.
Yeah, give me Tuten.
Yeah, at least a pause, though, in your voice there because of like the vote of confidence they've given Charbonnet with his workload. And we do know Kenneth Walker has a history of injuries, even though we can't predict injuries. Tyrone Tracy, hell yes, Bashal Tuten.
Yes.
Trey Benson. Getting closer.
Getting closer.
But give you Tuten.
Yeah, give me Tuten.
Going to stand on your priors here. They are, I will say, guys, Trey Benson much closer now than where we would have been 2 weeks ago, given what they're doing in the past game. Dylan Sampson, like that's an easy one. Give me Bashal Tuten. We've got Judkins back. And I really do like Dylan Sampson, guys. And when he's on the field, they're targeting him. Did you know that if you look across the Browns' backfield, they've each scored over 10 fantasy points per game? 30 fantasy points per game. Just kidding. You guys know it doesn't work that way, even if we give it all to one guy. Wide receivers that you could trade for Bashal Tuten right now. Jawan Jennings.
Jennings is like the only guy I'll carve out a caveat on here, which is that I actually think Jennings has top 24 wide receiver upside the rest of the year. So,
that's why I didn't say a word, because I actually like Jawan Jennings, and I think
as well. Cool. So we're aligned on that. Yep. So I think would probably take Jennings.
Yeah. Juwan Johnson.
I mean,
dude, he's got a huge role.
Yeah, he's got a good role. I think he's going to finish as a top 12 tight end this year. But is what you're getting?
6.
Yeah, it totally could be top 6.
We don't know when we get Foster Moreau back and Taysom Hill. Like, what's that going to do to the rotation there? Like, that's my only concern. But man, we were on the show yesterday. It was me and Matthew Friedman and Ian Harditz, and Ian, we all do it. We jumble up our words, and he called him Jawan Jesus. And Friedman goes, that's the greatest Freudian slip of all time. Jawan Jesus. So guys, Jawan Jesus, if you need a tight end, like it's still pretty close between him and Tuten, but a lot of you are holding Jawan Johnson as your tight end too, just because you were smart. You sniped it off the waiver wire so your league mate couldn't have it. I would move him in that case.
Yeah, exactly what I was going to say. If he's on your bench, then give me Tuten. But if he's your tight end 1, then
I think these are all Tyrone Tracy. I would rather have Tuten the rest of the way.
Yep, agreed.
Stephon Diggs, I'm out on.
Yeah, give me Tuten. Yep.
Now Golden is interesting because we've got Jaden Reed now out for 6 games with the collarbone. We've got a potential, hopefully not, injury to Tucker Kraft. We do like Dontavian Wicks there. We know Romeo Dobbs, sorry, Ian, just a dude, never is going to be this massive target earner. So, like, there's this vacancy there. I think this one really comes down to your roster construction. Matthew Golden wasn't the greatest prospect ever, but he's a first-round pick He's going to need to play more. He was a near miss on 2 bombs that could have potentially been touchdowns last week. So they're ramping him up, getting more work. This one, I think, comes down to what you need, right, on your team. I think Matthew Golden, if I need a receiver, I'm just going to stick with him. But if I need a running back, I don't necessarily disagree with moving on from Golden for Tuten, but I have a slight lean to Golden. How about you?
I have a slight lean to Tuten in a vacuum, but I mean, I agree with what you're saying, which is like, yeah, if your running backs are awesome and you're probably not going to need late season upside at the position, I would rather have Golden at that point.
All right. We've got like a few minutes left here. Tell me who you want to talk about. We've got options here. Do you want to talk about Cam Scattaboo, or do you want to talk about we got some receivers here we could hit. We've got Travis Hunter, Jaden Higgins, Luther Burden, and we've got your boy Colston Loveland. We can try to hit 2 of these rapid fire. What are you thinking?
Let's see. Let's do Travis Hunter for sure.
All right, let's pull up Hunter.
So to me with Travis Hunter, the funniest thing,
down to wide receiver 39, just real quick, so folks know. Yeah, down to wide receiver 39 now, and he's trending down in a pretty big way. Similarly valued to Pearsall, Pittman, Ridley, Cup, and Keon Coleman.
Yeah, so the funniest thing with Travis Hunter is preseason, my like big bullish take on him was he's going to play as the slot receiver in the 11 personnel Liam Cohen offense, just like Chris Godwin did last year. It's going to be a ton of screens. It's going to be a ton of short area targets. He's going to be a PPR cheat code. That's going to be his role, and it's going to be awesome. And that kind of is his exact role.
That is exactly what his role has been.
It was exactly what I was excited about, what I wanted him to be in. He just hasn't scored fantasy points in it, and his snap rate and route share came down in the second half of week 2 after the Jaguars cornerback got hurt. Jerry Jones, I think is his name. So, yeah, to me, I don't feel like that differently than I did about Travis Hunter. Like coming out of week 1, I think that is like a pretty unique circumstance for mid-game having a corner go down and having him have to play more defense. It's not ideal from a weekly, can I start him, what can I expect type of perspective. But everything we were saying about this Jaguars offense at the beginning and how we are bullish on it, I am not at all out on this being a strong offense and like a fantasy viable, fantasy relevant, valuable role for Hunter. Like
I would take him over Keon Coleman.
Yeah,
like,
I would take him over Coleman.
We're just rotating those guys so much now. Like week 1 was really promising for Coleman, but man, like last night had an 84% route participation. The week before it was below 70. Like I have no clue what the Bills are going to do each week with the way they're going to handle their receivers. So I feel like he's an easy one. What about Ricky Pearsall?
Pearsall, I think, is the only one that's difficult that you have up here. So I would take Hunter over Pittman, Ridley, Cup. Pearsall it's kind of similar, right? Like I think they are clearly like the number 2 in their respective offenses. Travis Hunter, I feel a little bit better about the talent. I feel a little bit better about the playing time and the snap share and all of that with Ricky Pearsall. So I think they're close, but everybody else, I would just immediately take Hunter.
Yeah, the only one I would say here is if Cam Ward could get going, like Ridley would be the one that could be a little tricky. But right now, Cam Ward does not look good. Cooper Kupp also looked really good last week. Did not look washed. But like, how long can he keep that up? Like, is the question mark. So no, I don't really argue with any of those. I love Travis Hunter. I drafted a ton of Travis Hunter. So same as you. And I think a lot of this can just come down to variance. He's in the role we wanted him to be in. Has he performed well in it yet? No. But does that mean that he won't? No, it doesn't mean that. We saw Chris Godwin excel in this role. Like Emeka Egbuka is playing in a similar role to this right now in Tampa Bay. What's the difference? Like he's catching some of these down the field touchdowns, and the rest of his targets are really more underneath. So Travis Hunter can do those things as well. So, okay, who is the other guy you wanted to hit? We can do one more.
Why don't we
Burden or Colston Loveland?
Oh man, let's go to Colston Loveland. We can do. And you could end with a little bit of punishment. Yeah.
All right, Colston Loveland. Let me just tee it up real quick, guys. I'll pull it up over here on the utilization report. A lot of this stuff is probably what Ryan was about to say anyway, but I will just go ahead and share Cole Kmet right now for the season is at 74% route participation versus Colston Loveland at 49%. The troubling thing, which on one hand is troubling, on the other hand it's not, because targets can be very mercurial, right, over like small samples. But targets per route run right now for Colston Loveland at 7% is not ideal. Like, this offense is funneling through Romo Dunze at the moment. So yeah, not getting the playing time, not necessarily integrated and getting any sort of easy looks. Now his targets have been on play action, which is a cheat code for tight ends. Like, it's like a 25% bump on a per route basis. So that's positive. But yeah, kind of stuck behind Cole Kmet right now.
Yeah, so I'll say this from, like, yeah, as you were saying, a cheat code perspective, is Ben Johnson going to run and design an efficient offense this year? Yes, I think so. I think we were right about that at the very least. The thing with Loveland is it's not just him that has been kind of buried in terms of just playing time over the first 2 weeks. It's also Luther Burden, who this team seemed very excited about and was another like shiny new toy / arguably kind of luxury pick that they made in the draft. So if it were only one of these guys that was totally buried in playing time early in the year and the other was being featured, then I would be really, really worried. But to me, right now, neither of them have played a lot. We just got another kind of weird quote from Ben Johnson about players not showing effort in practice, where I'm almost certain he's talking about DJ Moore.
Oh, yes? Okay.
I am pretty sure it's DJ Moore, just based on what he said about DJ Moore, kind of not like back in May. Like, yeah, I know. I'm pretty sure it's DJ Moore that is the problem child here for him. So I want to see week 3, because we've been getting some hints of we want to get the tight ends more involved. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. So
this really extends to Burden as well. This is a Colston Loveland / Luther Burden conversation.
Yes,
and I will say, guys, like, if you want to trade for them, you can get them for nothing. I would take Colston Loveland over Jonnu Smith or Brenton Strange or Hunter Henry or Evan Ingram. Like, as I'm assuming, guys, we're assuming you're not starting those guys. So if they're somehow on your roster, like, I mean, I would be carrying Colston Loveland over all of those guys. I think Dallas Goedert has actually played pretty well. That would be the only one that would be questionable, but the Eagles offense looks like a turd as far as passing goes. You can move him, like, you could get Colston Loveland for like basically backup quarterbacks, and you could find another one on the wire. So if you want to go get him, I do think now is the time. Like, I don't know that his value really gets much lower than this, to be honest, like, because people are just going to hang around and be like, when's Colston Loveland going to get his, like, I don't think he's going to ever, like, he's tight end 19 right now, according to fantasycalc.com. Like, I don't see a world where he's ever going to be tight end 30, because he was a first round pick, and everybody's at least going to be waiting, like, does Colston Loveland eventually get to take over a role? So I like what you mentioned there, and maybe we do get some sort of unveil in week 3. So
yeah, I think it's possible. No other real thoughts other than, yeah, this totally sucks. Cool. I can't believe we were lied to about Cole Kmet playing with the second team through all of training camp. Like, I'm really annoyed.
We can't believe it.
At this miss, personally.
Preseason stuff is, you know how it is. Yeah, we try, guys, to piece it all together, and it doesn't always work out. I will say we do get certain things right. They just can't get all of it right. So, hey, Ryan, man, massive shout out to you for coming on today. Really loved having you on the show. I thought you gave a lot of great actionable advice. Tell folks what you got going on, what to come check out. Obviously, Fantasy Points is where they can find you. Let folks know what you got going on.
Yeah, you can find all my written work over at fantasypoints.com. That's 3 articles per week. It's 5 stats to know, which is a free one that drops every Monday morning, kind of instant reactions to everything we saw the day before. The Everything Report that myself and Scott Barrett co-write, going through, it's called the Everything Report for a reason. Every single usage trend that you need to be worried about in fantasy football. And Friday mornings, Advanced Matchups releases. That's a little bit more of a betting and DFS focused article, but it's where I dig into all the schematic matchups, like cover 2, cover 3, who's playing single high, just the 1 week super micro stuff that you can get a little bit of an edge in DFS and betting with. So yeah, that's all my stuff I want to shout out. Thanks so much for having me, Dwayne. This was really awesome. Had a really good time. I very much enjoyed this.
Yeah, me too. Love having you. And guys, at @RyanJ_Heath is where you can find this man on Twitter, and he is always dropping knowledge there. So make sure you go follow him. So until next week, guys, this has been another episode of Talk Data to Me, and I will see you next Friday.